again, broadcasting live from Makati. This is our, what, sixth or seventh broadcast? Ilan na? And our topic this afternoon is on UFOs, on extraterrestrials. Do they exist? I've been asked this question many times, and my answer has always been consistent from the very beginning. A long time ago, in 1980s, and I was at first doubtful about them until I saw some proofs. Yes, I believe that extraterrestrials, UFOs, they exist. I've seen many of them in different places, especially in Mount Banahaw in the 1980s and 90s. We used to see these lights dancing in the sky, and they just don't appear in seconds. Sometimes you can see them for 10 minutes or even more, and we don't know what it is, but they are. So people from Banahaw regard this as a natural sight. They're not wondering anymore about it. They believe that these are extraterrestrials or aliens from outer space. We also saw some of these UFOs in Pila, Laguna. There were several of them passing also from the left to the right, and there were about 1,000 people, and about 800, who witnessed this because somebody said that they will appear, and they did at midnight. And other places, even outside my window in Paranaque, on the south part, about 4 o'clock in the morning, I went to go to the CR, and then I saw in the window a light moving very fast. But it's a small light, and I thought it was an airplane. When I realized it was not an airplane. It was very silent. There was no movement or flashes of light, unlike an airplane. And when I opened my drawer to get the binocular and look again, it was gone. It couldn't have been gone as a flash because there was a lot of space still there. It could have gone, but I couldn't find it anymore. When I understand that they can sense when people are looking at them. What are these creatures? We don't know. They came from different places. According to one theory, there are several species of these. And in the Philippines, we are lucky that we don't have those ETs that are abducting or investigating or experimenting on humans. And unlike in the Western countries, like in the US and other countries in the West, they see some cattle massacred in the morning or some fishes just coming out of the sky. We don't have such experience in this country. And people being abducted, one of the most famous cases of this abduction is the case of Barney and Betty Hill, who traveled from coast to coast. I don't know, from New York to California or from California to New York. But they traveled from one end of the United States to the other. And when they reached the other end, they couldn't account for about 2 hours of their trip and a certain number of hours. And they were having nightmares after that. And they didn't know why. Until somebody suggested that they be hypnotized. And during hypnosis, they found out or they saw that they were abducted by an extraterrestrial and brought into outer space and experimented on certain chips and all that, set into their bodies. And so after a series of hypnosis, they concluded that those missing hours were the time spent in the spaceship or wherever they were taken from, or wherever they were taken to by the ETs. Who are these ETs? We don't know. Some theorize they come from several planets like Venus, Jupiter, Mars. Others say that there is no such thing, that they came from inside the Earth, that there is a hollow Earth theory, and that some of these spacecraft supposedly that we see did not really come from outer space, but under the Earth. So there are many theories, there are very few facts about this, but it is quite amazing that all over the world there have been sightings of UFOs or unidentified flying objects all over the world. Millions of people have seen this, millions, not thousands or hundreds. Millions. Could they all be hallucinating? Could all be crazy? I don't think so. So there was a clamor to investigate this in the United States and other countries. And there was a reluctance at first to do this, and the clamor was so great. And the U.S. Air Force decided, okay, let's study this. They formed a committee and studied this, thousands of sightings all over the United States. And this is a Project Blue Book. They call it Project Blue Book of the U.S. Air Force. And they came up with the conclusion that most of this study, or most of the sightings, can be explained as natural phenomena, like lamp posts, cloud formation, Mars gas emissions, clouds that have that look like circular discs, etc. And they come up with the conclusion that there's no such thing. ETs and UFOs do not exist. But then there are people who examine this data that the Air Force gathered and found that about 1/3 of this could not be explained by natural causes. These were ignored. There's a lot of criticism about it, and this was completely ignored. Then there was a time when there was this retired military person who was allowed to see the data, and there was a recommendation from CIA that any statement about UFO should be discouraged and should be denied. Any statement. So the controversy continued. In the Philippines, there was somebody I met who's an expert at that time. He was a military man. His name is Colonel Bernardo Seguera from the PNP or PC at the time. He is a historian on the historical department of the PC, and he is the #1 advocate of the existence of extraterrestrials and UFOs, and recorded so many of them in his journal for a whole, I don't know, for the last so many years, lasting about almost 10 years, recording everything. And at one point, he recorded about 80 sightings, and he stopped because it became very repetitious. And he would name the place, the witnesses, the time it happened, and the kind of aircraft, and even the theory what planet they came from, Venusian and Jupiterian, or whatever. And she said that there is just a link between the people on Earth and these ETs, and that later on she will be a missing link. Well, he did become a missing link. After several years of this, he migrated to the United States, then came back for a while in the Philippines surreptitiously, and then disappeared. Nobody knows where he is now. Nobody knows whether he's still alive or dead. I met him in the 80s, early 80s. A very interesting person. And some people think that he's crazy. I don't think so. I mean, he's pretending to be a bit crazy. He is not. Very intelligent and has a good sense of humor, makes fun of himself. And he disappeared. I don't know where he is. which he predicted. But when we asked him this question of why do these ETs come to the Earth, and he said the one reason is that they want to prevent World War II. I mean World War II, World War III, the Third World War from happening. And also there was a time that they burned the what they call it, China Airlines, carrying an assassin that was supposed to assassinate Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. Of course, nobody can prove this, but this China Airlines got burned, and a few were seriously injured. Nobody died. Another incident that attributed to the ETs by some people, like Bernie Segura, is the what is this? The destruction of there was a space shuttle or a spaceship. I forgot which Apollo mission. I don't know whether Apollo 13 or but that's just an Apollo mission. And they just exploded and killing the astronauts. NASA could not give a reason for this explosion, what caused it. And according to the theory of people like Bernie and others, it is because it was carrying a nuclear warhead and that it had to be exploded so it could create good catastrophe. Do you know that if all the arsenals of the major Western countries like Russia, China, US, England, France, Germany, and all the other nuclear producing countries, all this stockpile of nuclear weapons, pag nag-explode yan, is enough to destroy the entire Earth. And one of the missions, according to some people, that the ETs are trying to prevent that from happening. Why would they be interested in preventing or the destruction of Earth? Because it will affect them. If Earth is destroyed, the magnetic field of this under our solar system will also be affected. And that is the reason why they would like to preserve the planet Earth. Well, these are theories. Whether you believe it or not, it's up to you, because we cannot prove this. But it's interesting. And I myself really, I've always believed in the existence of ETs. And now, recently, it's interesting. It's been denied many times for many years. It has been denied since the 60s and 70s and 80s, been denied by the Western powers. But in the 21st century, and some recent years, in the last 10 years maybe, there have been sporadic reports of some military agencies and Navy, the Air Force of different countries, like Israel, Canada, the US, I think even Japan, and some pilots and some military people who say that they really are UFOs and possibly extraterrestrials. And some jet pilots have even traced and the trace or not ran after or flew after this unidentified flying objects and even shot them. Well, of course, they would not hit. So they're supposed to be an advanced technology. And when they come, you see them, they can immobilize you and can affect the magnetic field of the Earth surrounding them. The interesting thing is that there are three types of encounters with UFOs that have been identified. The first is what they call the encounter of the first type. Encounter of the first type is when you just see an object flying in the sky, you don't know what it is, and there's a UFO. This thing. Encounter of the first kind. The second is when you see a landing of an aircraft, of a spacecraft, an alien spacecraft, when it lands, and affects the surrounding magnetic field. That's the encounter of the second type. And the third type of encounter, or encounter of the third type, is when you actually talk to an ET, or even was taken, even if taken into outer space in their ship. So that's the encounter of the third kind. And Steven Spielberg made a very successful film on this type of encounter. Well, I believe in this, that there have been encounters before. And I seldom talk about this, but I can reveal this. I wrote about this sometime. I myself have talked to an alien. It's a female alien called the Greys. No? They call the Grey because they look like their bodies, their skin is like rubbery gray. This is the usual shape of an alien with a big head, big almond eyes, dark, no hair, no hair on the face, skinless. I mean skinless, hairless, not skinless. The skin looks like rubbery gray, rubbery, and small nose, small mouth. Where did I met this? It was in a mystical place in Lucban, Quezon, Ciudad Verdadero. There is a boulder, there are actually two boulders there, which is very mysterious. And if you place your hand on this boulder, especially the one on the ground, because there's another one on top, nearby, something happens. People feel it vibrate, they feel it pulsating. Some people feel that they're being sucked inside. Some people say they're being pushed out of the boulder. And sometimes people get in a trance. Like in myself, I happened to be several times that I go into trance when I put my hand on this boulder. On one occasion, there were about 10 or 15 of us that went there and held this boulder. And when I did, I went out. I went into a trance, and I saw myself inside the boulder. Of course, my physical self was outside, but my astral body and myself, I was inside. And I was met by a nice-looking female ET. She was completely naked. I could see only from the head, the shoulder, up to the mid area, to like the midsection below or on the until the stomach region, and dark. After that, it's dark. But she has no breast. She was flat. She was completely hairless, and her skin is like rubber, color gray. It's a typical gray. They call it the grays, gray, kulay na gray. It's the most common of the ETs that have been encountered by human beings all over the world. No? So, but there are many others that have been encountered by other people. In my case, she met me there inside and welcomed me there, but said that I'm sorry that I cannot bring you down or accompany you down there. Maybe next time that you come here, we will be able to invite you inside, bring you down. So I thought, she was not talking verbally. We were talking telepathically, and she had the long arms and long fingers, and her two hands were up there like she was on the water doing like this, and there were two creatures on her near the arm, flying creatures like cherubims, and then near the waistline there were other creatures. Then underneath is complete darkness, and I felt it was very, very deep. So I thanked this creature and thanked them and hoping that next time I would be brought down. So when I got out of trance, it was quite an experience. I didn't believe it. I didn't say anything to my companions, what I saw there. Then when we were having lunch, uh, talking about our experiences, I said that I saw something inside the boulder. One of the companions I had said, I also saw something. He said, and I asked him, what did you see? A grayish woman, ET. And he described exactly what I saw. And that's the time when I realized I was not dreaming, I was not hallucination. There were two of us who saw the same creature. But he was brought down inside. It was very deep, he said. How come that you were brought down? Ako, hindi. We don't know. Sabi niya, but he was brought down. What did you see? Very deep. And on the bottom of this, it was like a laboratory. There were creatures like in white gown, and there is a being. He cannot tell whether it's human being or not, being examined or being operated on by this. He was there behind, and then somebody yanked him out of it and brought him up. But he saw this thing happening. So there were two of us who saw. And later on, I brought somebody else there who was a businessman who was very psychic and saw several of these ETs also. So I think they exist. So if there are any questions, um, we have, how much do we have? We have no more time, 30 minutes now, or we can. Okay, we'll just make some announcements before we answer questions first?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with Arcturian, Pleiadian, light workers, and etc.? As I said, no, there are several of these ETs that, according to some people, came from different planets. Like the Arcturian, there are some angelic creatures that are ETs. Yeah, I've read some of them. I have even had one or two times had communication from Pleiades, the star system, the Pleiadian system. I got information from them, so I believe that the Pleiades is inhabited. Are they here to guide us? There are some theories that they are come to help mankind to go back to the spirituality, to go back to God, and also to prevent the World War III from happening and prevent the destruction of the earth. According to also some of the information I'm getting from other sources, even during this pandemic, they're helping. I don't know in what way they're helping, but they better hurry up in containing this virus. But according to the source, said, don't worry, they're helping us. It could have been worse without their help. Okay, so Polio is asking, so I have old pocketbooks of UFO and more appearance in USA, Mexico. View more details po your book and medyo nasa 70s era po yun. Yes, 70s, 60s, 70s era, up to 80s. You're correct. Arlene Garcia, I heard you said before about Ciudad Verdadero. Open pa ba? Yan sila. You said may mga sightings po doon. Not only sightings, there are interesting things there. What spirit world. If you're not sensitive to it, you won't see anything, or you won't experience anything. But if you're open to spiritual or psychic things, then you will find it so exciting to be there. It's in Lucban, Quezon, or actually the border of Lucban and Sampaloc. It's owned by Art Katakis, and if you want, you have to call Art Katakis. Maybe we could tell you, give me the telephone number of Art Katakis and Thelma. So you have to ask permission there. There's nobody there. There's nothing there. Just a katiwala nila, no? Or keeper, no? Not caregiver. What do you call it? Huh? Caretaker. Family of caretaker there. Very, and she's very psychic. Her name is Thelma, Austria. Okay, question from Marcos Aurelius Galang. Why do you think UFOs or ETs have not directly communicated with and mingled with humans? Are they afraid of humans? Galang ESP graduate, the honor of 18 of your books. Wow. Thank you, Marcos, for that. Actually, they have communicated um, to to a number of people. Why they don't communicate en masse and they don't show themselves, I don't know. Some some say maybe they're afraid it might create panic. I don't think so. Now people are more open. They can land their spacecraft here, and people will just will not panic, and then they'll just be curious. So people are ready now to accept the existence of extraterrestrials, and even religious religious groups, Catholic Church, say that they are also creatures of God, so they can exist. No? Volt de Guzman Flores, is the doggone knowledge an absolute proof of its existence? Well, it's quite controversial, but the Dogon is talking about an African tribe called the Dogon tribe in West Africa, somewhere there, um, where every 50 years they have a ceremony to celebrate the appearance of Sirius 1 and also Sirius 2. At that time when astronomers didn't believe in the existence or did not know the existence of Sirius, that appears every 50 years, no? Only later on, they were wondering, how did this doggone tribe people know about this appearance every 50 years? So they have the ceremony to welcome the appearance of Sirius 1 and then Sirius 2. So when they were asked, where did they get this knowledge? The Dogon tribe elders said that in long time ago, there were people or beings from outer space who taught them about their existence in that galaxy. So that's it. So Lawrence Manuel Cabigan, the Dogon knew about Sirius B. Yes, at the time when astronomers didn't know there was Sirius, the second Sirius star, these Dogon people knew already there was such a thing. How did they know? You see, that's the big question. How did they know? Mel Albino, who's this? Roy Alvarez, the actor, was a ufologist who used to monitor these UFOs in the area of Pila Laguna. And yes, and yeah, I've been with Roy several times. Very sad to know when I learned that he died, or very suddenly. You know, it was quite a shock to me. Is it really true there is a Galactic Federation landing station in Chile? Whether there is a galactic, we don't know. But there was somebody I brought there who doesn't know anything about this. He didn't know that he could see, and he saw fleets of UFO underneath, no, under the water. There are some lakes there, no? And they're there. And he saw some also ETs in military uniform. So they're not visible to ordinary people. That's why it's difficult to prove they exist. Only a few who have the gift of sight, of third sight, third eye, can see them. Okay, CJA Vicente, do you believe in Anunnaki? Yes, there is evidence for the existence of Anunnaki. You read the books of Zachariah Sitchin, the 12th planet, no? Especially, and a return to Genesis or something like that, or Genesis revisited. And he talks about Sumerian writings, no, the cuneiform writings that were found, talking about the coming of the Anunnakis 445,000 years ago. They came from another planetary system, from Nibiru, the planet Nibiru, or the planet X, and that comes near to Earth once every I'm not so sure of this, one every 2,300 years or 1,3,600 years, they come nearer the Earth because of their elliptical rotation, not the usual rotation of different planets. Why they didn't, astronomers didn't see them because they're in another rotation. And about 445,000 years ago, these Anunnakis landed on Earth to find gold, because their atmosphere was thinning. So that was the reason why they came here. And according to the story, they were the ones who created mankind to genetic engineering. Okay, Montañez, Montances. Were they the ones who created the Nazca lines? We don't know, but they must have been created by other beings after the Anunnaki. Anunnaki 445,000 years ago. And atheists must have come here several thousands, maybe not hundreds of thousands. So they belong to different eras. No? Who created the Nazca lines, we don't know, but they're probably atheists also, because the Nazca lines is talking about in Peru can be seen only when you're on the air. If you're there on the ground, you will not see what is there, but on the air you can see drawings of charcoal drawings of creatures, horses, spiders, different creatures, very long, many kilometers wide, that cannot be seen from the ground, can be seen only from the air. But there was no airplane at that time this was created. So who would have created it? These are questions that we have to answer, but nobody really is serious in getting the answers to them. I can't understand scientists. See, Angelique, HRA, I don't know how to pronounce that. Hi, Sir Jimmy, have you experienced seeing a human being with an alien? I don't know how to call it. Something inside a person, like a soul. Is that even possible? No, I haven't seen one like that. But there are some creatures that, or there are some human beings na lapitin ng mga UFOs. One of them is Uri Geller. And there are some people who are contactees of extraterrestrials. There are contactees, and they've written books. Si Jonah Ginto. Hello, Sir Jimmy, listening from the Maldives. Oh, layo mo, no? Are people who have strong psychic powers the only people who can communicate or see ETs? Well, yes, but since we have all psychic powers or third eye, we all have it. Sometimes it opens automatically, and even if you don't normally see them. In my case, for example, I don't normally see this thing, but in a trance state or in an astral projection, I was out of my body. I saw and talked to this ET for the first time in my life. She was a nice looking feminine ET. She didn't look horrible. And that's the problem with Hollywood and the home comics and movies. They portray these ETs as monstrous looking. No, that some of them are angelic creatures. They're beautiful. They're not always looking ugly. So don't believe those horror movies that you see. Serene Estoninos, Marcia Pigol. Hi, Sir Jimmy. Can they also manifest in dreams? Yes. I used to dream of them very often when I was in high school, although I am not very fan of watching extraterrestrial movies. I remember in one of my dreams, I saw from outside our school window. I didn't even think of it before sleeping. Yes, they can manifest in dreams. Okay, so we could continue to study them. Romera Hornacion, meron din po bang mga Lemurians? Okay. There are two ancient civilizations. One is Atlantis, which sank a big island. It's a big island or country or city. that sank in the Atlantic Ocean, you know, Atlantis. An older civilization sank in the Pacific Ocean called Lemuria. Atlantis, we have some evidence, some writings of Plato, the one who first wrote about Atlantis, was Plato in one of his dialogues and describe it in detail how beautiful it is and far advanced technologically, etc., high psychic powers, blah. And Plato is not a fiction writer. It's not, you know, just telling a story. I think it's historically true. There is some evidence for the existence of Atlantis. And according to Edgar Cayce, Atlantis sank several times. And the sinking was 10,500 years ago. Lemuria, that sank in the Pacific, is a big continent that covered almost half the world at the time, half the known world. There's no evidence at all for the existence of Lemuria. But there are legends that tend to point to the existence of this very ancient civilization. And it is believed that they have very high telepathic powers, they have clairvoyance, and very unlike the Atlanteans also have telepathic powers, but more of technology, very advanced technology, the Atlanteans. The Lemurians were of spiritual, psychic type of people, and some have reincarnated in the present time. Si Charis Dadis Melissa had first-hand experience in seeing these UFOs in the early 90s. When they flew away, the air smelled like burnt white. You see, this is an encounter of the second type, even if you didn't see it land. There's a physical, manifestation. Interesting. Si Lorenz Manuel Cabigan, why are some of the abductions unpleasant, like that of Travis, Walton, and Barney, and Betty Hill? One, because they're experimenting with humans. They're trying to understand them. So this can be unpleasant. And not all ETs are the same tribe or the same race. They come from different regions also, different galaxies. Some are good, some are bad. Same thing. Some humans are good, some are bad. See? So we have all kinds of ETs coming in. We're lucky that the ETs coming in the Philippines are not nearly the bad ones. Marcos Aurelius Galang, by the way, if nothing came out with your talks with Giorgio Chocalos at the history.com Manila. We met there too. Met Cory Quirino the day before at Giorgio's talk. Yeah, I was the one who told Cory about Giorgio's. What if nothing came out? It was a very interesting conversation I had with Chocalos. Very knowledgeable guy. And we exchanged opinion about our experiences with these aliens. See, Telly's and Senit Ram. Hi, Sir Jaime, how about Star Children? I heard the story of a boy in the 70s during Marcos' time he could produce. And from paperback or call using you're talking of, who's this? The Wonder Boy. Ano nga pangalan nito? Well, we don't know what happened to him. Some say he's dead. Some say he's hiding. His supposed ex-wife called me and said, no, he's already dead. So we don't know. But I saw him perform some very miraculous things, unbelievable things, like he can really connect people to toy telephone. And according to the story, he stopped the communication in Malacanang for 5 minutes. That made Marcos believe in him. And I have seen him perform extraordinary things also, myself. Si kala ko Monsignor ito eh. Sen Elwol Janoka. Sorry, I cannot pronounce your name. Ay po, ito totoo bang pangalan niya o binimbento mo lang? Can they also give us some powers, example, psychic powers, superhuman powers, more power to. Well, there are stories of people getting healed after an encounter with an ET. And the story of Uri Geller, who could bend spoons and make seeds grow biologically and do other extraordinary things. Now he's doing healing also. He's becoming very, very active again. Uri Geller, making friends. I met him in 1994, 95 in Dusseldorf in Germany. And he demonstrated certain powers. And according to the story, when he was 5 years old, when he was playing at the backyard, an ET, a UFO landed, and he met this ET, but he doesn't remember them anymore. He was very young. He was just 5 years old at the time. So it is possible. And also there have been healing that have been reported after meeting an extraterrestrial or UFO. Okay, see, B. Montances, one of the drawings in Nazca looks like an ET. Yes, there are many, hundreds, there are hundreds of drawings in Nazca in Peru. I wish I could go there. I almost went there. I was in Lima and on the way to Brazil. I was on the way to Brazil, and the airplane landed on Lima, Peru, for a stopover for about an hour or 2 hours. And I asked how far it is from the Nazca line. Oh, about 5 hours. I was there only for 2 hours. No way I could have gotten out of the airport and seen the Nazca line. Sorry. I really am very sad that I was not able to go to Nazca. But I've been able to go to Cairo. I've seen the pyramids. I went to Stonehenge in England and several other mystical places in the world. Jason Velasquez, hi Sir Jaime. I'm currently reading your Exploring the Parts of Your Inner Mind. Quite a stunning read. I want to read your other books too. Thank you. Better buy them right away. There are still a few left in our office. You can order them from us. They're no longer going to be available. My publisher and publishing is no longer interested in publishing my books. They're going to e-print Seattle or something, I don't know. But I couldn't get in touch with them. My books are disappearing because they're being bought by so many people. And you're lucky if you can get some of them still. But you can order from us. You can call us up and we'll give you our numbers, how to get in touch with us. Thank you for your interest. Mel Albino, thank you for the clarification. Sir Jaime, I attended some of your seminars on ASP, also the past lives of incarnation, karma. I have your books too. Well, you're lucky that don't lend my books to anybody. They won't return it anymore. They won't return them anymore. Okay, so, all right. Now, we have not too much time anymore. We'll just give you how to get in touch with us. Our office telephone numbers are 8810-7245. And then the cell number is 0998-988-6292. You can email us at jaimetlecauco@yahoo.com. What else? We are on Facebook also. We will have a self-healing to visualization online seminar to Zoom next week, this weekend, March 27, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This is a seminar that will teach you how to use your imagination, how to use mental imagery to heal yourself of any illness. And so don't miss it. It's only 2,000 pesos per person. And you can call those numbers for how to enroll. And we have now almost 10 people. We only need 10 to start the class. So if they have more, then it will be more exciting. And you will be taught a specific, powerful technique to heal yourself using your imagination, using mental imagery. Okay. Well, anything else? Give us some feedback on this broadcast and give us some suggestions on what topics you want me to discuss later on. There are so many things that we can discuss. I'd like your opinion or suggestions on them. Thank you so much. It's Jaime Licauco signing off temporarily on Jaime Licauco Live.